Hi, Dee. Thanks for coming on the Teacher's Voice podcast. You've had a fantastic career up till now. Could you sort of explain your journey and how you've got to where you've got to?
Sure, thank you for having me. I started teaching about 20 years ago in North London, and I've been teaching in London schools, East and North London, until about 8 years ago when I moved to Essex, and I've been in Harlow ever since. I moved to Essex and became senior leader in a school, and then just moved up from there to headship really. And last September I opened a free school in Harlow. At the moment we're in year 2. It's going to be a huge school with 1,700 children when eventually full, including a sixth form as well.
Fantastic. I mean, how did that come about then?
The town needs a new school because of the growth in numbers, and our trust put in a bid to open a new school. And I was looking for my next challenge, and the trust advertised for the job, and I said I'll go for it. Wasn't really sure if it was for me, but I thought it might be easier to get into headship if I started from the bottom with the children, start from scratch. Well, now I realise it's not as easy as it sounds to open a new school, but I thought I'd grow with them. I grow into the role, and I was lucky enough to be appointed. So that's how it's come out, really.
I mean, that's quite amazing to start a new school, right? I mean, for everyone that's watching, like, what does that actually involve? Like, what has it been from start to finish, like to where you are now? Like, what have you had to implement to get the school going?
So it's everything from scratch, from having to set up Sims to actually doing filing for the student files, to implementing a curriculum, rewards, sanctions. I was actually really lucky because they were looking for a head teacher who was going to take on the project from the beginning. So I've been involved with the bids itself to the DFE, pre-opening Ofsted, the planning for the actual site itself, designing the curriculum, even naming the school, picking the uniforms, everything from scratch I was part of.
Amazing. I mean, how hard is it to attract students to a brand new school?
So you're selling a vision, and we had a very clear vision. So it was pretty much myself standing in front of a group of parents. We didn't even have a building. We didn't have any other staff. All I had was the name of the trust, because we have quite good schools in our trust. So and the vision itself, what I was promising them, and the parents bought into that. They bought into this dream that I was promising them. It was really hard. I never knew how much marketing would be involved in a school. So I actually went on a marketing course to find out what I needed to do. I'm pretty good at marketing now.
Really?
I would never have had that opportunity had I been ahead in a normal, fully established school, because the school's reputation itself just attracts parents, and there's always somebody else to do it. But with me, it was just pretty much standing in front of these groups of parents and saying, this is what it's going to be like. Come to my school. I can't show you anything, but I promise you. And then obviously we didn't have our building ready, so we opened in temporary accommodation. So the parents that chose to come to our school really truly chose because of the ethos and the vision I was promising them. It takes a lot to take a chance like that on a new school where there's nothing you can look at. Not even the foundations of the school existed at the time when they were making their applications.
Sure. I mean, from your experiences, obviously I saw that you worked at Central Foundation Boys School, didn't you? And that's got one of the best maths departments in the country, and you being a maths specialist, I mean, it just kind of tells you about what kind of caliber you're at, right? I mean, where do you think you got most of your experience in terms of good practice from? Do you think it was from Central Foundation, or was it a mixture of the schools that you worked in?
All of them. I think every school added a little bit something. My first school, I've learned how important it was to have a faculty, have a team that was behind you. They actually really spoilt me because I looked for that everywhere I went afterwards. Central Foundation at the time was a very challenging school. I absolutely loved every minute of it. Again, it was a real team spirit, and I think that's the common recurrence in all of the schools that I worked in. There was a real team spirit among the staff, not just within our own faculty, but the whole staff itself, because every single person I worked with, or worked for actually, all of my line managers had this desperate belief that we are going to change the world, we're going to make life better for these children, we're making a difference. And I think, looking back now, I've always worked for people who had a very clear vision.
Fantastic. I mean, where did your passion and come for for teaching? I mean, did you always know you wanted to become a teacher?
Up until sixth form, I wanted to be a doctor.
Oh.
But then I realised I didn't really like chemistry very much. As chemistry got harder, I realised I didn't enjoy it, and I also can't stand sight of blood. So I thought I'll save lives in a different way. But I had an amazing teacher at sixth form, Sally Humphreys. She was just phenomenal, and the impact she had on me, I wanted to make that impact on other children. And I've never known a teacher like her. She was so inspirational. I absolutely adored her, and I just wanted to be like her.
Fantastic. I mean, like, you've obviously gone through so much, especially in the last 2 years. Obviously, you've opened a brand new school. How have the last 7 months been?
I've never known anything like it in my life. It's been really hard, but everyone's in the same boat, so everybody's finding it difficult, and I don't think we'll ever have another 7 months like this ever again. But my team is amazing, my children are amazing, and my parents are absolutely amazing. I mean, all the parents in our school have been so supportive, so understanding, and again, it comes back to that shared vision, shared passion. They all buy into what we're trying to do, so everything we do, they understand that actually we're doing it for a purpose. There's always a reason why we do what we do, and they've been absolutely phenomenal, and I couldn't have done it without them. Same with my team. They get it, they understand, and the children, they're on this journey with us, and they know why we want to do what we want to do, and they're on board with it.
Sure. Just for anyone that doesn't really know where Harlow is on the map, like, what's the general demographics of the school?
So we're actually only half an hour away from London on the train. I still live in East London. I'm a London girl, particularly East London. That's where I grew up, so I absolutely love East London. And I travel to Harlow. It takes about half an hour on the M11. We're so close. We're in between Cambridge and London. We're so close to the city, yet it is so different. It's a small town, mainly white British, quite white working class. We've got our school, our permanent site is in a part of the town that is quite deprived. So we are serving a very deprived community, but at the same time, you've got some really affluent parts of the town. So it's a real mix between the two.
Right. The obviously, with everything that's going on at the moment, you obviously spoke that some of your kids are deprived, and in terms of some of the resources that they might have access to, are you finding it, in terms of obviously when you've had to teach from home, was it quite difficult to adjust, and like, how did you kind of overcome it? Because the government funding for schools hasn't necessarily been up to where you need it to be to really provide for these kids. So how have you managed?
So our trust has invested in technology because of, like you said, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough funding. So the trust bought laptops for children, and we've pretty much went by which of our children need it, and all the children in all of our trust schools who've needed it has actually got one, obviously on a borrowed basis, because these were resources that would have been given to schools. So all the laptops that my school had, for example, that we used with the children, went to children who needed them. Plus, we bought some more as well. On top of that, we also have children whose parents have real difficult situations at home, obviously with losing their jobs. And there's mental health issues have risen as well, and we saw that not just within our children but also parents and carers as well. So we've been supporting them with that. Financially, there are some parents who are in real difficult situations, no fault of their own. It's just, the way life is at the moment. So my staff are phenomenal. We basically support all of our parents in whichever way they need it. So we have given children technology to use at home. We've dropped food packages home. We've put parents and children in contact with external agencies where they could get some support for mental health. The school was open all the way through lockdown, and any child that wasn't coping at home, we brought them in alongside the key workers. Our vulnerable children were in alongside key worker children, and my staff were in every day with them through Easter, through half term. Even in the summer, we were sending work home and doing safeguarding calls, making sure that the parents had food and resources that alongside food, obviously got items that they need personalized as well. So we just made sure that all of our community was looked after. But it was easy for us because we only had one year group to look after 120 children. And I really do feel for schools where you've got thousands of children and parents that you're trying to care for, and it is a really difficult situation to be in.
Especially with like the recent news of the government not going to give free meals over the school holidays. I mean, like, how obviously you said you worked with students from like families that have suffered from obviously the consequences of the pandemic, but how much does that really impact? I mean, obviously for people that don't know how it feels, like you're there on the front line speaking to these parents, like how much does that really impact these families?
It's really sad to see some of our families in these situations, and not being able to do more is really heartbreaking. But it has an impact. So not only are these children coming to school hungry, but they're also worried about what's going on at home as well. So that impacts on their concentration, on their focus. School is a safe place for them. Yes, they come to school, we feed them, we clothe them, and we look after them, but then they go home at the end of the day. And throughout the day, they might not show it to us, but actually they're thinking about what is going to happen to them at home. Some of these kids are in temporary accommodation. So we've got a lot of children who are housed in Harlow from councils in London. So these children are moved, and they are going to move again. So that uncertainty of where am I going to be in a week's time, in a month's time. We've got children who are whose parents have lost their jobs, so who are constantly thinking, what am I going to eat tonight? Am I going to have anything at home? So that typical, people think this is just stories that teachers are telling, but that typical, I will save this for later and put it in my pocket, take it home to my little brother or take it home to my mum, that happens on a daily basis.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, what do you feel like? Like I said, you're on the front line. So what could the government do, or what could be done just from DFE or like anybody with power to really make a positive impact for the people that are really suffering through this pandemic?
I think we definitely need to extend this free school meal vouchers further, because a lot of people have been furloughed. That's coming to an end. We've got Christmas coming up. I don't even want to think about what that's going to be like for some of our families. So when we go back to school, we've got an action plan to support those families in terms of making sure that they've got the basic the food and other stuff that they need. But also these children, some of them aren't going to be getting a normal Christmas meal. They're not going to be having a normal Christmas where they're going to be getting presents and so on. Not that that's the most important thing, but their childhood, this is their childhood, and actually they're spending it worrying about money. They were spending it worrying about, am I going to be eating tonight? Am I going to have a roof over my head? No child should have to worry about that. That's a basic right. That's a human right. And we are living in one of the most, developed countries. We're living in one of the most richest countries in the world, and our children are going hungry. Our children are suffering mentally, and the impact lack of nutrition is having on their physical development as well. That is really noticeable in our schools these days.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually see it in the difference of the level of work ethic and the way that they kind of walk around the school. Can you?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane, isn't it? I mean, it's awful. I mean, you obviously being with the kids all the time, like, how hard is it not to feel completely responsible that you can't do, because there's only so much you can do, right? I mean, how hard is it to be able to have to walk home every evening knowing that these kids are going through that?
Yeah, it's a moral dilemma, isn't it? How much, I mean, we have a small school, so for us it's really easy to identify the students that need the help, and also my staff is so dedicated. I've lost the count, of how much we have spent on our families and children, and we will continue to do that because it is our I'm not going to say it's all our responsibility, but it's partly our responsibility to look after these children in and out of school. So we will continue to do that. But it's so hard knowing that some of our families are on the breadlines, and we're issuing food bank vouchers, and at the same time, I'm buying a Costa coffee for myself. I feel so guilty doing things for myself when I've got children who are going home to such difficult circumstances.
Course. I mean, like, there's this big misconception that people that aren't necessarily in the industry, that teachers, what are they complaining about? They've had so much time off. Why are they upset that they have to go back to school? Obviously, I know that I speak to teachers daily, and I know that you have to. Teaching online, when you first had to adapt, it was the most difficult thing, because you didn't know whether they were coming in. Are you gonna? You just didn't know how much time you had to plan for. I mean, you've got the pressure from SLT, you've got the pressure from the parents. How difficult is it to be a teacher right now? And in particular, how difficult is it to be a head teacher of a school, a brand new school at that?
I can guarantee you, I haven't had a day off since lockdown started. Even during summer holidays, I was redoing the curriculum. I was doing a lot of we had a lot of risk assessments to sort out, because we were coming back in September, getting the school ready, making sure that it was safe for all staff and students. We were still recruiting, because recruitment just never stops in schools. You're constantly looking for good staff. So I haven't actually had a day off since lockdown started, and we were in school most of the Easter break and the May half-term break with the children, because we didn't close our schools to key workers, and because we knew it was important for them to be, for those parents to be at their jobs, so that we could fight this virus. And when they say we're all in this together, absolutely, we are all in this together. I think it's a really weird time to come into teaching, because with all the risk assessments in place, there's so little you can do in the classroom at the moment. It's not like a normal teaching environment. You can't get too close to the children, you can't touch their books, and all of these little things. It makes teaching really difficult. So when we're training staff, we always say to them, this is not how we would normally do it. This is what we should normally be doing, but because of COVID, this is what we're going to do. But it's also a really exciting time to come into teaching, because so now we have children who've fallen behind. Now, all children have fallen behind, but those that are disadvantaged have fallen even further behind. So anyone who feels like they have a duty of care to children, or anyone who feels that public services are, a right, I truly believe in public services, and serving our community is an important thing to me. So anyone who feels that passionately about changing lives, about contributing to their community, to their society, this is the time to come into teaching, because for the next 10 years, we're going to be undoing this COVID virus impact. And if you really want to make a difference, be a teacher. Because I always say to my staff, we're saving lives in a different way, but we're changing the world one child at a time. So anyone who's thinking, is it for me, is it not for me? Yes, it's not for everybody, but actually, if you've got that passion for making a difference, this is where you're going to make the difference to these children. And I've never worked in a school where there wasn't a deprivation level. So all of my schools had quite a high number of free school meal children. It had quite, it was in deprived areas. So if you really want to make a difference, if you want to do something worthwhile that's going to actually change the world, go and be a teacher. But go and be a teacher in areas where we really need you.
Yeah, and how hard is it for you to find teachers at the moment?
Recruitment is difficult, partly because we're not. Well, it's partly because of the pay. So London offers higher wages. We're only half an hour away from London, so you can easily live where our school is and commute to London, which would make your living costs a lot lower than actually living in London, but you're still getting London wages. That contributes to it. Also, teaching is seemed like a profession that's not very well respected. So I was at a recruitment fair at a university with lots of different companies there looking to recruit maths graduates. And I only had 2 people come and speak to me about becoming a teacher, and there was hundreds of students who were in their 3rd year there graduating. They were all looking for jobs, and even the ones that walked past and just quickly spoke to me said, oh, so when will I actually make it to X amount of money? When will I get, this much money? How much does it pay to begin with? And as soon as I told them, this is how much a student, trainee teacher starts at, they just walked away. Only 2 actually stopped and spoke to me about becoming a teacher and what they needed to do, which is such a shame because it is such an amazing job. These children, you never have the same 2 days, and children always amaze you, and they do just wonderful things, and they do some really silly things that make you giggle. I can't actually imagine doing any other job, and I never wake up in the morning saying, oh, I've got to go to work. It's always, oh, I've got to get up, because I don't like mornings, but I never wake up thinking, oh, I have to go to work. I absolutely love my job. I love teaching. I love the children. They are just the most beautiful little humans in the world. And I can't actually imagine what else I would do with my life. I can't imagine sitting in an office for 8 hours a day, just in front of a computer. This truly is the best job in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a different lifetime, I might have become a teacher. It's a shame that I didn't really look at education about 10 years ago, because
Never too late.
I know. I mean, I done an enrichment day with Arc Greenwich Free School last Thursday, and it was so rewarding speaking to kids, and you genuinely do make a difference. And it's a shame because, like you said, that sometimes the salary is deemed to be too low for what you have to do. And to be fair, for the level of effort teachers have to put in, I almost agree in some respect. But what people forget to realise is how much our economy depends on good quality teachers being there to support the future generation. I mean, is there a message that you can send out to anybody that's considering teaching? Any advice that you can give them to go into teaching, and what to expect, and how to get through the difficult days?
If people are thinking about it, I think they should definitely consider it seriously, and maybe do, obviously after COVID, because we can't have people on site at the moment, but do some kind of work experience. And it's important to be in a school where you're going to be supported. So schools where there is a strong emphasis on staff development, particularly for the new teachers, the trainees, the NQTs, 1st, 2nd year, 3rd year teachers. and also the vision of the school. You know, what is the school trying to achieve, and have a look at what the leadership is like, not just the senior leadership, but also the middle leadership, because it's their drive that's going to make that vision come true. And everyone talks about vision, but it really does make a difference to a school, because we all need to work towards a common goal, and that's what we have in our school. We all share that vision, and we all have a passion for teaching. We all have a passion for our young people and to make a difference. If you really want to make a difference in life, teaching is definitely the way to go, because teachers create all other professions, and you can really shape a child's life through education.
So, I mean, in terms of like those that are doing their PGCE now, like what a crazy year to do a PGCE. I mean, what can you say to them to help them get through this year? Because I mean, I'm sure some of them are thinking, no, I cannot do this. And those people, like, what can we do to make sure that they don't leave the profession without giving it a proper go? Because things will eventually get better. They will. I mean, this is the hardest year, like I'm sure anyone has ever seen, right? I mean, the credit crunch in 2008 was nothing compared to this. It's just about trying to get them to get through it. Like, what can we say to them to help them just to get through this year?
I'm not going to lie, it's hard. PGCE is probably the hardest it's ever going to be. It's going to get easier. NQT is going to be hard as well, but it just gradually gets easier and easier and easier. And no job is easy when you first start it, because you're learning your trades, and it's just like anything else. But please don't give up, because these children need people like us. These children need teachers who are going to care about them, who are going to not just teach them English, math, science, but actually be a role model. And if we quit at the first hurdle, if we quit when things get tough, what are we teaching these children? So please, please, please continue. It does get easier, I promise you. But go find a school once you've got through your PGCE. Go find a school to work in that is going to support you, that you're going to absolutely enjoy, and find people who are very like-minded to you, because then you will really enjoy the job. Not only because, you know, you're going to be teaching, but also you'll enjoy the team efforts, the staff room conversations, and it will be those colleagues that are going to get you through it. I worked in schools, and I've enjoyed every single school because of my colleagues and because of the children.
Fantastic. I mean, like for those that are doing the PGCE this year, I think one of the things that they've probably got in mind is securing a job. And obviously with the uncertainty of everything that's going on, how many vacancies will there be next year? How many people are going to move? I mean, it's all in question, right? But if they do get an interview, like what are you, like if they were to interview with you, what are you looking for? I mean, what are you looking for in their CV? What are you looking for when they come and visit you? Their teaching style? Is there any advice that you can give them on that?
So for me, when I interview, I want to know that the person has gone and found out about my school, and not just come in because it's just another interview set up for them. I want people to interview for my school because they genuinely want to come work in my school. So they need to know the school. At least just look at the website, look at their vision statement, the mission statement, what kind of setup the school has. Also look at where the school is, get to know the area a little bit, because not every school is for everybody. So if you know about the context of the school, you're more likely to answer questions better. I also look for people. I'm not interested in the best teachers. I'm interested in teachers who've got potential to be great teachers. I'm looking for people who are passionate about their subjects, who are passionate about education and young people, and also people who are going to give their time to these children. And one thing that I'm really passionate about, and might not be the same for all the other heads, but people who are interested in developing themselves professionally and personally as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, those are sort of what you really want or expect from a teacher in some respects. But a lot of teachers kind of think about the profession as, oh, I work 8:30 to 3:30, go home. There should be planning. There should be PPA time during my working hours, and I don't want to do anything when I get home. I mean, unfortunately, it's not a job, is it? It's a career. It's about going above and beyond if you really want to make a difference. I mean, through your experience, how have you seen teachers that have had that attitude compared to the ones that that you described go on to progress in their career?
To be honest, if you have that mindset, you don't really survive the school year. They often, people who come in thinking, oh, it's just, 8 till 3, I'll go home and I'm done. It's a vocation, like you said. It's not just a job. And nobody comes into this for the paycheck or the holidays, because that's all a myth. And it's hard work. But when you know what you're doing is making a difference, it kind of sweetens the deal a little bit. But people who come in thinking, oh, it's going to be easy, it's going to be, office hours and I'm done, I'll do everything during the day. I mean, there are teachers like that who organise their time so well, they take very little work home. But even then, you still end up doing things after school hours, because you just can't, it's not manageable. And people who think that way don't last in the job for long. Sometimes they come in with that mindset and they see the reality really quickly, so they drop out and then don't even complete their training. But I've had very few people like that come in for training in our schools. Maybe it's because we interview, and in the interview we actually only pick the ones that are really passionate and want to make a difference and understand the difficulties of the job. But genuinely, I don't think people are coming into the profession anymore thinking those. And you just can't survive in a school environment if you've got that kind of mindset. The ones that progress really quickly into leadership, middle leadership and senior leadership, are the ones that are, we in our trust, one of the things about our leaders is we believe in servant leadership. So we are here to serve. And you can spot very early on, even in their training year, people who are going to make it to leadership in our trust, because they have that mindset. I'm here to serve, I'm here to make a difference. And they're the ones that are real team players. I've actually got I've got a lot of people on my staff who are like that, but I've got one who we spotted from day one last year when he was training with us. He's going to be running a school within the next 10 years. He's just got it. He knows exactly what to do. He's a team player, always steps in when there's a gap and fills it, understands the expectations and the needs, and he's willing to do it. And he's passionate about spending time with the children, passionate about spending time giving his time to them outside of school hours. So you will never find him sitting in the staff room at lunchtime. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because we need a break, but he never does it. He goes out there, he gets his lunch, he goes out there, he talks to the children, he goes and talks to the staff. He's always out and about. At the start of the day, he'll come in, make his drink, go outside, stand on the gate to talk to the parents. And I say, you don't need to do that. You can go take a break. Oh no, but I enjoy it. That's what we're here for. I want to do this. So it's people like that. And youngsters who are coming in now, I say youngsters, actually that's wrong, people who are coming into training now see him and they take him as a role model and follow suit. I'm just, like I said, I'm just really lucky. I've got amazing staff in my school.
Yeah, fair. I mean, how many days have there been where you just thought, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm ready to quit?
It happens. We all have those days. But in our trust, we've got lots of very supportive heads. So in my one of our trust schools, which we're actually sharing a site at the moment because we're in temporary accommodation, the head there and I often just have a little chat whenever things get a bit too much, and we're like, right, come on, we can do this, yes. And we kind of boost each other's morale and give each other a little pep talk, and off we go. So there is that support at the top as well.
Fantastic. I mean, like, just in terms of, obviously we'll pretty much wrap up. I mean, you've obviously given us so much to take away from this. It's been actually fantastic, because there's so many great points you've raised about the free school meals, about like what you need to do to become a teacher, and obviously you've been quite honest about it, which I mean, anyone that's watching this, if you're a PGCE student, I mean, this is what you need to take away from this lady, because there's so much that she's given in terms of information about how you can progress in your career and how you can have like a phenomenal career in teaching, please just take it away, because I mean you've done it, haven't you? You've literally gone out there. You've had those challenging days. You've started off as a teacher of maths, and you've worked up to head of maths. You've gone up to senior leadership, and now you've started a brand new school. I mean, there's not many people in the industry that can say they've done that. So I mean, thank you so much for your time. I mean, for anyone that is watching that's a PGCE student, what's that last final bit of advice you'd give them before we sort of wrap up for the day?
Have high expectations and never compromise on your moral compass. If anybody wants any kind of guidance, support, help, my staff and I would always be happy to talk to people, so you can contact us. I'm sure my trainees and my NQTs will be willing to share their experiences as well, but never ever compromise on your moral compass.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for obviously you're taking time out to speak to us. I mean, you're an amazing woman. I think you've had a fantastic career. It's not every day that, even for myself, like, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 6 years, and I don't get to speak to people of your caliber every single day, you know. So thank you for taking time out to have a conversation with me. But yeah, look, well done on everything that you've achieved as well. I mean, your school sounds phenomenal. I mean, it sounds like you've got great work ethic. You've got a lovely team that is supportive, and you know what? It sounds like you've done an amazing job to build a community because of the way that the parents have been quite supportive. Because I've heard of schools where parents have been complaining and like they've been struggling to deal with it, and it's not like you've got an area that you cover that's a lot better. I mean, you've got children that are living in deprived areas. I mean, you've spoken quite a lot about the children that are suffering at the moment, and I really hope the government do listen, because the free school meals, I mean, every other year, obviously, children don't receive free school meals over holidays, but this year it's a complete different situation, isn't it? Like they can give free, like half-price meals over the whole of August, but they can't feed the children that absolutely need it, and it makes you question whether there's actually what's actually happening. Because I was speaking to Dave Malachi, who's an assistant head teacher in London Enterprise Academy, a little bit earlier today, and he was sort of explaining that a lot of their children are from deprived families, and they were only given 10 laptops, you know, and they needed 200. So it put them in a massive deficit. And there's a lot of kids that couldn't really catch up on the work. And that's been the biggest nightmare, is to try and get the kids to catch up. And obviously the exams next year are sort of only delayed by 3 weeks at the moment, aren't they? I mean, that'll probably change, I'm sure, but things change every 2 months. But it's a crazy year, and it's just that we just need more done from the government, I think. And I think this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, is to get get the teacher's voice out there, because we talk a lot about NHS, we talk a lot about them being on the front line, but we forget about how much work you're doing as teachers, and how important the profession is to the future of our economy. So it's really important to address these points and get these points out there. So thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No worries.